What is up, boys? Today is April 1st, which is officially 1 year since the launch of this channel. Confetti! Kazoo! Kazoo! Woo! Yay! And seeing as how I don't really have anything else filmed or planned, I'm going to do a little change up. And I'm going to go over all sorts of stuff in this video. What I've invested in the channel, how much I've spent on gear, equipment, what do I think about that gear and equipment, was it even necessary, why I bought that stuff, some of my favorite videos to film, and I'll answer a couple questions. I got a couple comments on the request video about what I should answer, and I'm going to throw that in the video. And probably just a couple other random questions. I'm a small channel, so I didn't get a bunch of questions, but I'm going to fill in the gaps. So, if you're not aware, this is the YouTube dashboard. So today isn't actually the first, filming it before the first, because that's how YouTube videos work unless they are live. But you can get an idea of what the dashboard looks like. So we've hit 731 subscribers. That's pretty awesome. When I posted my first YouTube video, I didn't think I'd be anywhere near that. I actually said to myself, you know, in a year, I'd like to be at 50 fucking subscribers. I didn't realize I was going to hit 100 off the first 4 videos alone. Yes, I understand that firearms and this type of content is pretty popular. I'm not trying to ride waves. It always looked like fun. I always wanted to try it. I've been watching YouTube since the late 2000s, like early 2000s, so 2008, 9. Watched lots of different content creators from all sorts of different genres, and it's always been something that I personally thought it would be cool to try. I'm not a super social person, despite how it appears when I'm talking to a camera. There's no interaction, so it's very easy to say whatever the fuck is in my head or on the top of my mind, because there's no response. I just get to monologue. It's kind of the best part of having a YouTube channel. The ghost loading the Beretta video. This video was just insane to me. Like, I genuinely don't understand how this got this much reception. The backstory of this video, I'm not going to do every video, just a couple of the top ones and talk about them. And then I'll get into the gear list, which I'm assuming you guys are more excited for. So this video was a response, a correction that I had made because a commenter, Mr. Watson, 2001, if I still remember properly. I'm pretty good with names and numbers, so they're stuffed up in my brain here. Mr. Watson, hey, same shirt. Mr. Watson said, hey, I was promised ghost loading. I didn't do that, so I went back out, took the firearm out, demonstrated ghost loading, and said, this one's for you, Mr. Watson. I expected it to get literally 2 or 3 views and that he'd see it. I did not realize that it would quickly become my fastest growing video, and it's a YouTube short. I tried to do the YouTube shorts thing. It's not really my thing. From my understanding, it actually hurts your channel's growth and progression. But I don't know. I'm not a YouTube expert. I'm just a guy who likes to make stuff. So yeah, 29,000 views on that 60-second video. At one point it had 112% average viewed percentage. I did kind of cut it in a weird way because I didn't think there was going to be. I cut it right in the middle, showing the actual process of ghost loading because I didn't think anybody was going to watch it. It was just more, hey, this is proof that it works, not how to do it. So I've always thought maybe I should go back and do a how to do ghost loading video, but then I don't know. It is what it is. And as you can see, that one video alone is 10% of my total subscriber base. It's insane to me that just something that was not a throwaway, it was a correction to something I'd done, but yeah, even now it gets over 100 views usually a day. It's actually insane to me. And this came out on August 11th. Crazy. And again, second top content, the Beretta Ultimate Patrol video. So this view, right around 5,000. So backstory on the Beretta Ultimo Patrol video, that's not my firearm. That is a good friend of the channel's firearm. That is his configuration. He hauled off and bought the gun before I could. So we just used his for demonstration and review purposes. Keep pretty good meticulous record of through the firearm despite me not shooting a bulk volume of that ammo. But I have shot quite a bit of ammo through that firearm. So it is very interesting to me, the response to this shotgun, given that there's reviews from channels much, much larger than mine. It is very interesting to be in a pool of takes on this gun. I do still stand behind the assertion that it might be one of the best sub $1,000 semi-automatic shotguns on the market, and even including pump actions, it might be one of the best sub $1,000 shotguns on the market, period. So it did very well, had lots of engagement. Lots of people ask me, hey, do you prefer this? Do you like this on there? How do you feel about this optic? I would say the configuration that it is in the video, the Ferrotech 509T plate and the Holosun 509T on that plate with the S-Tac side saddles and just like whatever sling you prefer, whatever M-LOK weapon light you want to throw on there, is the preferred configuration that I would suggest to people. Unless you can afford an acro, if you want to throw an acro on there, I think that might be the only other better option for this firearm. However, I think the 509T might be one of the most well-rounded firearms optics on the market, despite the new Trijicon RMR HD, whatever the fuck that thing's called, being out, and all the other options. For a small footprint, enclosed optic, the 509T is my favorite. So, and it functions flawlessly on this firearm. As you see in the video, I got extremely small groups with slugs at, I don't know, we were at like we were at 25 with a 35 yard zero or 30 something yard zero, so, or meter zero, I can't remember if it was yards or meters. Great video. One of my favorites to film, and did very well. The Taurus G3 video, another video that was not cut content, but kind of, I did this whole video in the downtime while the Glock 43X was cooling down. I put like over 200 rounds through it on a quite warm summer day, end of summer day. Not burning me, but it was extremely hot to reholster appendix. So I was like, I'm gonna crank the slide open and let it sit out for 10-20 minutes in the shade, just cool down. I'm gonna grab this out of my vehicle, just do a quick video. Video is very short, 6 minutes 54 seconds. I didn't put a shit ton of volume through it. I just talked about some of its features, its price point, shot it at 75 feet and was hitting steel, completely base gun. Only difference was I had base pad extensions on the magazines. Other than that, everything was stock on that firearm. The Taurus G3 might be one of my favorite sub $300 guns, because you can frequently find the G3C for $250 almost all day if you go on some of the larger websites. Palmetto, Primary Arms, not sponsored, just a great website. Brownells, wherever you shop for your firearms, you can find them frequently under $300 almost all day, brand new. So you don't have to compromise. You don't have to get a potentially compromised firearm with a used firearm or not knowing what the hell happened. Yes, Taurus has had quite a negative reputation for quite some time, though I think in the last 5 to almost 10 years, really in the last 5 for sure, but like we'll say 9 to 10 years, they've changed quite in a large U-turn, really, like 180 degrees, and kind of regained their image. And I like to support that when I see that. They make fantastic firearms. Some of them are fantastic. And I do recommend these pistols to people who are starting their journey and don't have $600, $700 to drop on, whatever Glock 17 is up to nowadays. I would assume just a base version of the Glock 17 has got to be in the almost $700 range if you're getting a Gen 5 or an MOS. So maybe you can find them cheaper, maybe you can find them used, maybe I'm completely wrong, but not everybody's got the same budget that you have. And while I do think that the Glock 17, 45, 19, 43, 43X are better firearms, there's nothing wrong with the Taurus. You can absolutely defend life and liberty with one, and a $300 PSA rifle, and you're good for under $1,000. You're good for under $800. You can get a pistol, $150 break action shotgun, and a $300 AR from Palmetto, and still have money left over to get 100 rounds for each, and a cheap optic. So, my Glock 19 video. Holy shit, dude. I understood that starting a YouTube channel would be somewhat controversial, and that having certain types of opinions about firearms would get people's, jimmies rustled. I didn't expect this, though. There were all sorts of comments about people saying, bro's yapping, 10 minutes, 11-minute video, bro didn't say shit the whole time, bro doesn't know what he's talking about, Glock 19's goated, still carry one every day. I don't care what you carry. I'm not trying to say that the I sucked the Glock 19's tiny little in this video. It's a good firearm. I'm just saying, I have actual man-sized hands, and I have problems getting good grip pressure on it that I don't on the Glock 45 or the Glock 17. I'm a big boy, dude. I can conceal a giant firearm in a sidecar with extra ammo and still have tons of room, and there's no difference in my mind. It's 2 fucking rounds, but my hand actually grips onto the firearm better. So if you're one of those scared printy boys, like, oh, nothing on my body can print, blah, 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 like, the justification from going from a Glock 43X to a 19, there's almost no difference, and the same almost no difference from a 19 to a 17. I'm not judging people that carry the 19. I don't care. Carry what you will carry, but also what you can shoot to a level of competence that you can defend yourself if you need to defend yourself. That's all I was getting at, dude. I don't hate the Glock 19. I got fucking 3 of them, dude. Like, I'm just saying, it's not my favorite firearm. That's all. And it really pissed people off. I didn't think it was going to be incendiary, or I didn't think it was going to be that incendiary. It was the first video that I told, like, kind of a narrative opening, and I really wanted to do types of videos like that where I was kind of setting up stories and telling why I got into firearms, and kind of build more backstory and character, and not just say Glock 19, Glock 19, Glock 19, Navy SEALs. It's the same arguments and shit I've heard a billion times, even though I repeated many of them in that video. Those are my top videos for most of the channel. A couple of their random videos have kind of popped off. That's just some of my favorite videos to film, and some of my top performing videos that I had no idea would be top performers. Outside of that, all the stuff that I really made the channel for, to distribute and signal boost good information, like fire making stuff and survival, necessary items to keep in your car during the winter, medical items and their usefulness, stuff like that, never really performed that well, but I was still figuring out how to make the steps, and the camera quality wasn't great. I still haven't really figured out how to film indoors in a way that is compelling and not extremely boring, but we're figuring it out as we go. So I could see why these videos perform better than some of my other videos. So that is part 1. Now let's talk about some of the kit and money that I have spent on gear. My first ever video, which technically has not been released to YouTube. First thing I ever filmed on was this tiny little Logitech, Logi now, but it was Logitech back in my day. It was Logitech. So I just had it in my head that I wanted to make this YouTube channel, and every day that I put it off, I'd been saying since 2015 that I wanted to start a YouTube channel, and I kept putting it off, and I kept putting it off. And then one day I had that camera for Zoom calls with people for work, and I said, fuck it, I'm gonna record a video. I'm gonna play a clip of that video in the background. Again, this is an unreleased video talking about, I think it was the T-Rex Arm Sidecar 2.0, and the video quality bothered the shit out of me. It was good enough for the Zoom calls when your picture is this small on a screen, but it was not acceptable for a YouTube video in my mind. So I thought maybe I'll try using my old camera. The phone has since battery cracked and puffed up and separated the case, so I don't have it anymore. I recycled it because I'm a responsible human being. Recycle your electronics. But essentially I used my old Pixel 3 as a camera, so I didn't torch my daily driver battery on my phone. And I just bought one of those cheap gooseneck I'm actually still using it. Maybe I'll roll B-roll of the phone arm. I'm using it as a light mount. As you can see, hand gets brighter the closer it gets to the side of the camera. And I just stuck my phone there and ranted at my phone until one day I did a little job and had just enough money left over to buy the very first expensive piece of equipment that I bought for the channel. And that was my main shooter, the Sony 𝚂𝚑𝚔𝚑, which is this camera. And it shoots 4K. It's got relatively decent main lens. I also purchased an external microphone for when I'm at the house, so I have a second audio source with slightly better microphone quality. The Movo microphone was $35, and the Sony 𝚂𝚑𝚔𝚑 camera and lens was just over $1,000 with tax. And I picked up one 512 gigabyte Samsung Pro micro SD card for $35.99. So that was the very first large-scale investment I made into the channel. I also picked up a couple cheap, these little guys actually. They are little light boxes. So this is by Vivitar. They have a variable, I think these were $35 or $40 a piece. They have variable colored LEDs. You can do all sorts of color tone. I'm a pretty pale dude, so I like to leave it as a neutral white. I got 3 of those, and another Vivitar Y-shaped light that can collapse. I believe that was also $40. No, that was $22. It was half off. So that is another $120-ish plus tax, and $22 for the Y-shaped light. So we've got $140, a little around that to $150. And that's where it got quite expensive from that point forward. So I'm not going to count anything. I guess I could count the AAC ammo that I bought specifically for the review. Technically I ordered the Radian before the channel existed, but I guess you could add that. But nothing else was essential to the growth of the channel, like upgrading equipment for the channel. A couple battery banks, some USB-C cables, a $50 dummy battery. A dummy battery is essentially just a battery that's, slots in and out of the camera, but it is connected to a 2-prong 12-volt AC power connector, so I can run the camera on wall power while I'm not out and about, essentially. That was about $50, but one OEM battery for this camera is like $70, so it was much cheaper in the long run. Use the battery when it is when I'm outside, charge it as I need to, go from there. The first tripod that I purchased was a $17 on, again, a Walmart brand. It has since fallen apart. Here's the B-roll of it breaking during me rebuilding my PC. And from that point I knew I gotta figure something out. So I bought that cheap tripod and a couple, the $15, $20 Gorilla Pods. Then I finally got this carbon fiber newer tripod. Here's one of the Gorilla Newers. Those are great for phone stuff or smaller things. Put the GoPro on it. Oh, carbon fiber. This bad boy, man. I had to stand really far back in shots. As I've previously said, I'm like a hair under 6'3", so we're gonna say 6'3" with boots on. So the other cheap tripod wasn't tall enough to keep me in frame, so I had to stand super far back and then kind of zoom in or crop in post. This thing, I'm pretty sure is like 8 foot tall, fully extended. It's made out of carbon fiber. It's got the Arca Swiss plate adapter, so the cage that I have around, the cage. Newer Sony 𝚂𝚑𝚔𝚑 cage, so that's another $50. I don't know, maybe I'm keeping track of all this stuff in a number in the corner, so I can put that on there without, it just quickly disconnects, and then there's a thumb stud that locks the camera into place. I had a couple friends offer to let me use some equipment, so I have a GoPro Hero9 Black that also came with some large SD cards. That's what we captured the slow-mo footage for the 50 cal versus zombie head video, which I thought was going to perform a lot better, but it didn't. So that's mainly the gear that I use. I used to edit on a Linux freeware program called, oh shit, what is that program called? Kdenlive. So I used Kdenlive for probably the first like 6 months, 4 or 5 months of the channel. And then when I did my belt video, that was the first video I filmed on this camera. That was also the first video that I edited in DaVinci Resolve. I like to call it DaVinci because it's funny, but that is also the same program they use to edit Avengers Endgame on. Obviously, I'm not using it to its fullest extent. I'm just saying that is what that program is capable of. And they have a freeware version of it. And if you're not using DaVinci Resolve, you're using After Effects or some other program, awesome. It is a very powerful and very useful piece of software that is free. However, shortly after switching from Kdenlive, which I had all sorts of issues exporting, rendering video took forever. Shortly after that, my PC died. And I hit kind of a turning point. I either had to build a new PC or I put YouTube on the back burner. So all of this stuff could have been, I guess isn't necessary to have a YouTube channel. There are plenty of people. Look at Asmongold. If you don't know who Asmongold is, he's a popular Twitch streamer. He played World of Warcraft for a very, very long time, but now he plays other games. He has a YouTube channel, well over 2 million subscribers, and that's just clips of his stream. He's made tens of millions of dollars doing this, and he's been using a 720p webcam and basically the same friggin' setup for over a decade, at least since I've been aware of him, since, yeah, about a decade. So none of this stuff is necessary. However, when I would go back and I would watch myself, or I'd hear how I sounded on a cheap mic or on the mic on my phone, I hated it. I don't like to watch content that doesn't look good, even if what's being said is stupid. I know a lot of the stuff I say is dumb, and most people are probably thinking, get on with it. Why are you even fucking saying this right now? But the point is, I would much rather watch 4K clean footage with decent audio than potato quality of rocket launch. You know, a 320p video of the most amazing thing you've ever seen. So it was important to me, and so was building the new computer. So if you factor in the $3,500-ish new PC and all the storage drives, I probably spent like $300 just on storage for 4K footage. I've heard people saying like, oh, blah, blah, blah. I've got 10 years worth of YouTube videos on one 10 terabyte hard drive. I would love to know what they're doing. Maybe I'm an idiot. Maybe I don't know what the hell I'm doing, and I'm just keeping a bunch of giant raw files around. But I've hit almost 4 terabytes of raw video, and I've been doing this for 1 year. So that is just a rough breakdown of monetary investment. All of it's unnecessary. If you want to start a YouTube channel, get a cheap GorillaPod. If you're, you want to vlog or whatever, or set it up on your desk. You can wrap these around something, or get one of those $15 gooseneck mounts, stick your phone in that. You don't have to do high-tech stuff. You don't have to have a $1,000, $2,000, $5,000 camera. You don't need to have the most expensive soft boxes. If you have a dream, chase it. Chasing your dream costs $0. And yeah, you might not get any sort of feedback. Maybe nobody watches your videos. I didn't think the very first video that I put out was going to get 2,500 views, and a bunch of really awesome people commented. I didn't think the channel was going to take off, and I genuinely can't believe that we're above 700. Like I thought I had years before this point, let alone hit that in a little under a year. We've been at 700 for we've been at 700 for over a month now. And I genuinely am surprised. Every single day I hit refresh and look and see that number goes up, and I wonder, like, why? What is it about me? I'm just a regular old dude. There's probably a bunch of other awesome regular old dudes that you could subscribe to too. And just telling them, hey, thanks for making this content. Or, hey, I appreciate the video, man. A lot of work goes in on the back end. Just since I built the new computer, I'm going to pull it up here. So I don't have an exact log. But, ironically, AMD treats my Blackmagic editing software as a video game, so it tracks how long that I keep that launched. And it says I've got 80 hours invested just editing since this PC was built 3 months ago. This is not an easy thing, and there's a lot. If you want to get really good at something, you're going to have to invest your time. I've spent hundreds of hours watching videos on how to optimize editing and how to do J cuts, L cuts, the scene transition where I, talk to myself on camera. I probably spent like 14, 15 hours figuring it out. And that looked like shit. Like some people said it looked great. I can see all the little flaws, but, painters looking at what they make, they're, you don't see the end result. You see the flaws that, created the final piece of art. So hundreds of hours of watching other people's content and preparing to get to even this point. So I didn't just wake up one day, no YouTube reference, no understanding of the platform. So I guess, if you count that, tens of thousands of hours of watching and listening to, at work, pop an earbud in and hit play on a YouTube video and listen to it while you're doing whatever. So I guess I say all that to say this. Don't get caught up in, I need this, I gotta do that, I have to have that. Put those things on a plan. If you really want a certain camera, you want to know how to use a certain piece of gear or an editing software or whatever, just start. You say I want to do this now, and then next thing you know, it's been 5 years and you never started. You failed to launch. It's better to be 2 months into a project that's doing no views, but you're still learning, than 10 years into something that you never started and then you regret it. So, all right, that's part 2. I'm going to answer a couple questions and then we're done. First question, top five movies. All right, so I get the comedy. There's like a comedies if you only have to pick one genre. This is super easy. 5 movies that I never get tired of watching, or 5 movies that I can watch every single time without being bored. First one, Anchorman. I can almost quote this movie word for word in an almost, yeah, sure, autism. You can say whatever you want. Back before Facebook, back in the MySpace days, people would just hurl, we had our Razor flip phones, and we would hurl quotes from this movie at each other. I get that talking like that and saying that we did that has also become somewhat of a meme. Super Troopers, another classic. I quote a lot of these movies inadvertently, and I don't even catch myself just because it has become part of my vernacular over the course of almost 20 years. That some of these movies have been released for over 20 years, which makes me feel old. Third movie, I want to say the 2004 Dawn of the Dead remake, because it's a Zack Snyder film that's not a Zack Snyder film. This is another movie that was extremely impactful on me in my young adult days. I really liked the zombie subcategory, and I really found the discussion of firearms use in that space. I grew up playing Resident Evil. I'll get into that, but it kind of was a displacement thing. The characterization of Andy, the gun shop store owner on the other side of the parking lot, just, there's 30,000 zombies separating you, and you have all the food, they have all the ammo. It was just a great take on that premise. I've watched it well over 100 times since its release. In fact, every year I like to watch it at least one time. Editor's note, it is 2:30 in the morning. The fact that Grandma's Boy got left off this list is a fucking crime that I'm here to rectify. Grandma's Boy. Other movies. The first John Wick, fantastic firearms handling. Keanu Reeves is one of my favorite actors of all time. Johnny Mnemonic, Hackers, What other movies would I suggest? I'm a big fan of the dystopian cyberpunk aesthetic. Spaceballs, super funny, and I can pretty much watch anything that isn't modern Star Wars or Disney adjacent nonsense I'll watch anything once. But those are probably my top couple movies, mostly comedies, but some serious stuff too. Blade Runner, also both the new one and the old one. I get it's kind of a meme. So that is some favorite movies. Oh, how do I come up with my topics? So when I first started the channel, I had like a 3 or 4 week buffer. I filmed a bunch of stuff that I thought would be cool, and then slowly trickled those out once per week. That was my original goal with YouTube. I was going to release one video every Monday from the Monday that I first dropped my video on 4/20 of 23, and every Monday I was going to drop a video. Just as a challenge, like, hey, can I do this? I don't think I did that. I'd have to look at the exact calendar, but I'm pretty sure with the computer being down, I had some videos scheduled, but I still ended up offsetting that by missing 2 weeks, even though I made videos announcing there was going to be no videos. So technically I might have passed, even though I think I missed 48 of 52 weeks. But essentially I had a buffer set up so that I could come up with ideas. So I would just sit down and think of, like, what do I know how to do? What do I think would be good to impart on YouTube? Or if I passed, what is stuff that I wish I could have taught my family before I passed? So even if I tomorrow, I have a year's worth of legacy content of me teaching things that I can quickly, maybe not quickly, I'm sometimes very long-winded. This video is probably going to be long as shit actually thinking about it. But stuff that I wanted to pass down to my immediate family and people that I think is good information. Sure, some of it might be woodsman nonsense. Some of it might just be, complete nonsense. But knowing how to start a fire, knowing how to keep thermo-regulated when you're in a vehicle in negative 20-degree weather and you're snowed in on the freeway. People die. There's hundreds of people die each year frozen in their car. And that's in 2024. It happened last year, but it happens every year. Like, these are completely preventable things with a Mylar blanket and a small candle, or just properly managing your fuel and keeping a certain amount of fuel in your vehicle so that you don't run out of fuel when you get caught out in a snowstorm or whatever situation. Prepare for tornadoes if you live in Tornado Alley. Prepare for earthquakes if you live in California. Prepare for whatever it might be. So I wanted to propagate this information despite not being the only person propagating it. I don't care if I never make $1 on YouTube, but it would be cool if I could help one person. One person's like, oh shit, I remember that tip. Or, oh shit, I remember that trick. And that saves one person, I'm cool with it. That's all. That's the whole goal of the channel. And I can sleep at night knowing I did my part. Okay. If YouTube ever contacts me, or if there's any interaction with the man. Since I started the channel, I have been reached out to by 4 people on my email. If you have any business inquiries, my email is available. It goes directly to me. I have no manager. I have no financial support through YouTube or through any private donation. So I reserve the right to say no. However, I've been reached out to by 4 different companies. The first one was a request to do a collab about a pistol safe review. The company was based in China. I did not respond. Another one from a microphone company. Again, I'm not going to name them. They wanted to send me a microphone. I would have taken it, but something felt weird about it. I did the back research and it just felt awkward. People complained that they made the person reviewing the product or using the product purchase it up front. My main thing is, if you want to send me something, I will review it. If you don't want me to keep it, I'll send it back. If not, whatever. I did not respond to them. I was also reached out to from a company that makes small EDC knives, gadgets, stuff like that. I did respond to them and asked them, like, what would the terms be? And they said, cool, send us your address. So I stopped responding because there was no, I wanted more information essentially. They're like, hey, do you want some stuff? to review, and I was like, yeah, what would that look like? I've never received a sponsor or gear before. How would that work? And they said, send us your address, and I stopped communicating with them. And the last one was from someone who wanted to do thumbnails for my YouTube channel, and I make all my own thumbnails. I do everything for the channel, unless it is somebody else, a friend of mine, filming or doing videography for me. I edit, film, write, purchase, test, and do everything else. I'm a one-man band here, so those are the only 4 people that have reached out to me since this channel has existed. I've had people reach out to me on Instagram. Again, 𝚂𝚗𝚋𝚒𝚔 on Instagram. I'm not very active on there. I probably should be, but I'm a YouTuber. I'm not an Instagrammer. So, yeah, that's pretty much it for this video, guys. If I missed something or you want to know more, please let me know. Again, ask questions. Maybe I'll do a follow-up in the future. I think this video is probably long enough as is, and most of you are already like, Jesus Christ, dude, you have 700 subscribers. Why are you making a video like this? Well, I wanted to be open and transparent. I wanted to show people what it looks like to have a certain level of content, and I want to answer questions, and I want to talk with people that subscribe to me. So, yeah. Thanks for everybody that subscribed, and here's to a year on YouTube. Cheers. I've got a couple people who've said really annoying things on YouTube. I've gotten into like back and forth. People said I was insensitive about a video. People said all sorts of shit. My favorite comment I've ever got was, I'm going to see if I can find it. It was, dude reminds me of donut operator's woodsman brother or something like that. And I think about that fucking comment more than I should be ashamed of how much I think about that. I actually fucking love that, so. Alright.